from that moment, I think that was me hooked. They didn't want women at the golf club on a Saturday. 10 times more money each week for the men.
We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we gather today, the Noongar Wadandi Mort. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present and emerging.
Scratch the surface and everyone has a story. Welcome, Kai, to the Wisdom of Women.
Our guest today is a golf professional who loves nothing more than watching a new player hit that perfect shot.
Welcome, Shani Waugh. Now, I have to admit, me and Joe, we don't mind hitting a golf ball. We're absolute pros. Yep.
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Shani,
Trust
you better
me,
sort
trust
these
me.
girls out a little bit later on,
I can't wait to see that. I can't wait to see that.
We're lucky
really
if we remember what the thing's called with the other thing.
You'll be grateful that it's dark and we can't actually do it tonight, right?
Shame.
I love
what
it.
a shame.
Now, Shani, you've got a really big career you've had internationally. I have been Googling and hearing all about it. No, it did take a little bit of a while. The love of golf. How on earth did this happen? Because not every kid is out there. I mean, it's probably different nowadays, but not every kid is out there when you're a young'un, and I'm not saying that you're old, but when you're a young'un, how did it happen?
My parents played. My mum started playing golf when she was pregnant with me, so maybe that's where the ability came from. Dad would disagree with that comment because he's a very good athlete. Mum's got a really good attitude, so I think hopefully I got both those put together. Yeah. I think I tried to play golf when I was about 8, but I was a skinny little girl that couldn't really hit it and not very far when I did hit it, so I wasn't very interested, and I thought I was going to be a footballer or a cricketer. or a hockey player.
Yeah, I love that. Actually, can I just say, my husband just wanted to make sure you do remember him when he used to play under 12s football with you at school. It's all he could rave about was, I played with Shani. Yeah.
Well, if I could play half as well as your husband played footy, I think I would have played the wrong sport.
You could
probably.
have been in the AFLW
I probably still be playing the AFLW at 53 years of age. But yeah, so I just tried every sport, and I guess really hated golf because I think it was just too slow for me. And plus I wasn't very good at that age.
And it's a frustrating sport.
Yeah. And everything I wanted to do was fast. So, swing fast and this ball just ran on the ground and that sort of thing is super frustrating. And because it looks easy on TV, right? Oh, yeah. We even had TV back then, Sydney, that, so you could actually watch a little bit of golf on TV. But, and I just think it was just, I didn't like it, really, to be honest. And then I tried again when I was about to turn 14 and I was, started puberty and stuff like that. So I was a bit bigger and stronger, and I probably, luckily, very early on made a par on the 11th hole at Bunbury Golf Club. I remember it vividly. I don't remember my first birdie, but I remember my first par. And from that moment, I think that was me hooked. Done.
Excellent.
I love that. You were hooked. So how hooked were you? Were you just so passionate that you were out there most days or weekends? Or
I can't remember. I think I was probably pretty lucky that there wasn't a lot of good golfers around, female golfers around. So I looked better than I probably was. I got invited to special coaching in Perth and stuff like that because I was probably the only female around the place who could get the ball up in the air. I mean that in all seriousness.
So who was noticing you then?
It was the West Australian Ladies Golf Union. So they merged with the West Australian Golf Association, and now it's Golf WA. So it was the ladies, used to walk around in their beige overcoats with their shooting sticks and a nip of brandy and stuff, and watch us. They'd hide behind the trees. Well, they thought they were hiding behind the trees.
Oh, awesome.
And watch us, and then, they were the state selectors and stuff like that.
And they'd be, this one's pretty good, talented.
And I think when you're younger, you don't even quantify how good you are or how bad you are. You just play and you just everything just sort of like evolves in front of you, and you don't really, I don't think it was a conscious decision. I think the biggest thing I was interested in was the handicap system, which, you could gauge your improvement by how quickly your handicap was coming down. It's really the only way you could judge, because golf's such as you girls would know with your experience on the oval,
the professionals.
One shot's really good and the next one's really bad, and I think so it's hard to say, I'm getting better, because you can hit this absolutely crap shot and you think, well, I was getting better until I hit that shot. Now I'm back to ground zero. So I think the handicap system for me was the big motivator. And every time there was school holidays coming up, I'd think, oh great, I can play like 8 games of golf these school holidays, and my handicap will come down even further. And I'd spend the rest of that term trying to play to that new handicap. school holidays would come along again, I'd go down again.
Wow.
So yeah, so I was actually, so I think I'm quite driven by the obvious
competitiveness.
Is it extrinsic motivation? Probably felt like extrinsic motivation to me, but it's probably quite intrinsic that I wanted to see that handicap come down, but never really knew where it was leading to. I never thought, I'll be a pro one day. Never.
I was just going to ask, at what point though did you turn around and realise, or did someone say to you, you're really talented at this, you could go far, what are you going to do with it?
Well, I never had anyone say that to me. My parents were great parents in the sense that they really didn't build me up in any way. You know, they'd say, oh, well, you know, that's sort of, they never said, come on, you're not practicing hard enough or anything.
Just turned around and did the, oh, that's good, dear.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, apparently when I was not at the golf club, they were bragging up a storm. But, you know, when I was there was no way they were bragging sort of thing. So I think it just, again, being in Western Australia, not a huge population, very few junior girl golfers, you know, just got identified early and didn't really get any, there was no such thing as, you know, Australian squad. There was Australian teams, but there wasn't like, you know, squads or, you know,
so no real pathway set in place.
No. You just, the amateur body wanted you to play for Western Australia.
Yeah.
And maybe you might play for Australia, but heaven forbid you want to do anything professional. That was a big no-no back then.
Is that right?
In fact, when I actually turned pro, I actually wrote to the Australian Ladies Golf Union and just said, you know, I'm turning professional. It was the most mature thing I think I did as a 21-year-old was actually write that letter. But, I wrote and didn't get a response. And then heard a comment through the grapevine that they said, she'll never make it. Never make it. So I thought, well,
Kitty.
I didn't care. I was 21. I didn't care. I was really quite immature 21 and what an adventure.
Yeah.
I was about to embark on that really wasn't about the golf. It was about the adventure, I think.
Yeah. So how did this adventure start? So you went state, national. When did you go overseas? When was your first?
Well, I was studying at phys ed teaching in Perth, and a friend of mine who was living in Victoria at the time said you should come and live in Victoria and play more golf. They had more golf tournaments over there. They had more good golfers. So that sounded like a very sensible thing to do. So I tried to transfer my phys ed studies to Monash University in Melbourne. Didn't fill out the forms properly. So by the time I got to Melbourne, I hadn't been accepted. So you can imagine that phone call back home to Mum. She was furious.
So what did you do?
I just got a part-time job at the local golf driving range and lived like an absolute bum and played golf, you know, like...
Oh, you were living the dream then, weren't you?
But I was. I had no money, but I remember going to the nightclubs and stuff like that and having a great time.
Yeah.
And really, you know, I don't think I ever didn't have any food or anything like that.
You made it work.
Yeah, and then, so I was in Melbourne for a year, playing lots of golf, and then another friend of mine, golfer, had turned pro, and she'd been on the she's the same age as me. She'd been up in Japan for a year. Beautiful girl, Queenslander, you know, tall, slim, really attractive. Was doing all these calendars in Japan. She was also could play quite well and that sort of thing. And she just called me and she goes, "Oh, I can get you into this tournament, this professional tournament, in a month or so, in Queensland. Do you want to play?" And I said, "Yeah, I'll play. Great. You know, I'm sure I can get Queensland somehow." And she goes, "It's just one catch. You have to turn pro." Oh. And I went, "Oh. All right then."
What does that entail?
So what is that? Yeah.
Back then, I think you still just do the same thing. I just wrote to the professional body, the female professional body, and just said I want to turn pro. And you had to have a certain handicap, and then which I had, and they said, "Yep, no worries." So went straight into that tournament, finished 14th, made like I think $3,000 or $4,000.
That's
so
all right.
I am the richest 21-year-old in Australia, right?
Ching, ching.
Score.
I felt like
That's so good.
I thought I was so rich.
Which
I was. Compared to a student, I was super rich. But not to be a golf professional and then going to go on tour and play. So then I took this. I don't remember how this came to happen. But then there was another tournament by the same sponsor up in Cairns. And a month later, and I went up and played in that, and there was actually some players from America came and played in that, and I finished 20th in that one, made another $4,000. So I'd like to say I had $8,000 in my bank account. I think I spent a bit of money doing that.
We had flights
I took off to Europe. Yeah, a lovely old guy at the driving range in Melbourne paid for my flight to England. So I went Cairns, England, and just started playing the Ladies European Tour. about only a couple of years later, they introduced the qualifying tournament, so I didn't have to even qualify. They obviously had spots in the tournament, so I played my first tournament in Woburn in England, and that was in 1991, and just went from there, and then just started to get comfortable on the European tour, and thought, oh well, I might go to America now. So stupid, because you're just getting comfortable on one tour, and think I'll go to the big tour now. I'll go to the LPGA in America. I went to qualifying school over there and got the final qualifying spot, which wasn't a fully exempt spot. So I had to hang around and wait to get into a tournament if players weren't playing, or you could also tee up on a Monday and try and shoot it out with everyone else for 2 spots. So I did that a couple of times. So I played like 6 or 7 tournaments that year. Just loved it. Played quite well. And then...
Is it really competitive?
Yeah.
And cutthroat? Are the women, were they supportive of you as a,
I think largely.
as a group?
I think largely. Yeah. I don't think it's what people imagine, that there's bitches in the locker room. There's a few strange girls.
Strange.
Well, it's you're playing an individual sport. You have to have played it from a young age. You're good at it, so you're probably socially. A lot of them weren't very well adjusted socially. I used to say to people that...
because you're so narrowly focused.
Yeah. Odd. And so I used to say that you could line up all the girls that played on the LPGA in a line, the girls I knew on the tour, and I could say, you played a team sport, you didn't play a team sport, you didn't play a team sport, you played a team sport, so on and so forth, because you could tell. You could just tell. The ones that had never really played a team sport... odd, not really my type of person. Yeah. So thankfully, I'd played lots of team sport when I was younger, so I can say, you
were okay.
I was great.
I'm fine.
It was awesome. Yeah, I thought it was anyway. That's the main thing.
That's really good.
Yeah.
So you're in America, PGA. Was there mentors? Was there older women in the competition at that stage that you?
I was young. There was a few Australians, which was great. I think they, you naturally look out for your countrymen. So, I remember when I first went to Europe, in fact, Karen Lunn, who's now, interestingly, is the CEO of the ladies tour here in Australia. She, I sat with her on the plane on the way from Cairns to London, and she basically gave me a quick session on, this is, do this, don't do that, this sort of, and really that helped me a lot. Like, that was a great mentoring session on the flight on the way over. I wouldn't have had a clue. When I think about it, I wouldn't have had a clue. So that she sort of took me under her wing, and other players take you under their wing. I think that, like Jan Stevenson was playing. Remember Jan Stevenson?
Who doesn't remember her?
Sydney wouldn't have a clue who we're talking about.
No, I don't. You do? So that
was cool. I mean, well, sort of. I mean, she's actually a really nice person. I quite like her.
So that's interesting as well, because a lot of that centred around what she wore. So Jan Stevenson was made a little bit famous for what was considered risque golfing outfits.
Yes.
Because it is very traditional, isn't it?
Yeah.
Did you watch on and go, oh, I'm wearing a skirt? No, shorts, wasn't it?
I would have had shorts on for sure.
Yeah.
She broke so much ground, and what people focus on, her lying in a bathtub of golf balls. I don't know if you can picture that iconic picture of her.
Yeah.
And everyone focuses on that. She actually won a couple of majors, and she won some tournaments. She's she was a champion golfer, but no one focuses on that. Right. Like, that's the disappointing part. But that's the era that we were from. And look, Jan, I'm sure she would agree. She would admit that she was leveraging as much as she could. I don't think she was doing it necessarily for herself. I think she was doing it for women's golf.
Because
she's a smart lady, very smart lady.
How did men in general view women on the golf course?
Back then?
Yeah.
Horrendous. Yeah, like I remember saying to my dad when I was a junior, can I come and caddy for you on a Saturday? And he gave me every excuse under the sun why I couldn't come and caddy for him on a Saturday. But the real reason was they didn't want women at the golf club on a Saturday.
Yeah.
Then I remember sitting on a committee when I was about 16, probably Sydney's age, 16 or 17, with my mum. Not a committee, but like a group. We got together and created the Bunbury Golf Club business women's competition. So we actually got some time slots on a Saturday morning.
Wow.
So
whoa,
fast forward to 2021. So we're talking about 1980, I don't know, like 1986 or something. Fast forward to 2021, and they've just allowed women to play in the afternoon at Bunbury Golf Club.
Are you kidding me?
No.
Oh,
it's been a few.
Gee, we've come far, haven't we?
No, not really. Not really.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. So, professional women who, I've got a few friends that are nurses or, work shift work or something like that. So they might work till 10 o'clock on a Friday night and that they had to get up and play their golf at like 7:30, 8 o'clock just to be able to play on a Saturday.
Yeah.
So a few of them advocated for afternoon tea times, so they could actually live like a normal human being and sleep in and do a few chores or whatever they had to do and then go to golf whenever they wanted, really.
And not be treated as a second-class citizen.
No, it took a lot. It took a fair bit of agitating to get that to
Clearly.
to happen.
It took
30
years.
It's crazy when you think about it. Yeah, 30 years. Yeah.
Gosh.
I wonder if golf is probably one of the last sort of
Yeah, I think so.
holds of
I think so.
misogyny and men grasping.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think so.
And so
Still not great, but it's better.
Yeah, and clearly though, back when you were young, playing in that international arena as well, that was still.
Yeah, I mean, you just have to look at the prize money.
Yeah, what
comparison between men and I never did the sums because if you did, you'd probably be pretty sad. But I don't know. 10 times more money each week for the men. So if we're playing for a prize fund of $1 million, they're playing for a prize fund, maybe 5 times when I first started in America. So they'd be playing for $5 million, we'd be playing for $1 million. Yeah. That's the total prize pool. And it's probably worse now. Like I think the men's has gone through the roof. Like they're playing for, you win and you win 10 million, I think. Yeah. Whereas the girls has increased, but not by a whole amount. Much. Not really by. It's probably they're probably worse off relative to the men. I'm just guessing because I don't watch golf because I find it really boring. But
it's great to play.
Yeah. It's quite fun to play.
Watch.
Yes.
There's been some interesting characters in golf as well that have clearly elevated it just beyond golf spectators. When you talk about, the Tiger Woods and so forth, they help the industry or they help the sport, clearly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, you talk about misogyny and stuff like that, but then there's also the racist element, which is definitely alive and well, and Tiger has smashed a lot of those. Again, probably not as evolved. We haven't evolved as much in that area as what we probably should have, especially given we've had such an advocate as Tiger. But I played on the LPGA when the Korean girls started to make their mark, and so I was on that tour for 11 years. When I first started, my friend Pearl, who's a Korean American, she was the only Korean girl that was playing, and then by the time I'd finished, when I retired, there was probably 20 South Korean girls playing. And I think that there's more now, and it's no surprise that they're good because the discipline that they have and the work ethic they've got is far outweighs most Western people, I would say, and apparently I don't know how true this is, but apparently they're physiologically their pelvis is slightly different to ours.
Oh, I have heard about that.
Yeah, have you heard that? Yeah. I thought I made that up. I thought I was making that up when I was telling someone else about that.
Obviously, in the golf circles we run in.
Yeah, we hear all about it.
High level, yeah, apparently. So they can, I don't know what it allows them to do. I think it allows them to rotate their hips easier than a very inflexible white person from Bunbury.
So how did you keep your body fit? Was it yoga? Pilates?
No, did nothing. Nothing. Played golf.
Me?
Yeah, did nothing.
That's it.
Again,
tell me you stretched at least, for God's sake.
Nope.
Have to think about it.
Stretch one day.
I remember going into the fitness trailer. So we had a fitness trailer in.
Oh yeah, right. You needed that.
But it was as much about injuries as it was about fitness. So you'd go in there if you sort of had tight shoulders or sore elbows or or whatever. And I remember being in there getting some work done I had tennis elbow for a little while. And I was getting some work done on my tennis elbow. And Annika Sorenstam, who is the greatest ever female golfer, I think. I can't think of anyone who's achieved more than her. Wow. She came in and I thought, oh my God, how exciting. Annika must be injured.
Did you get a bit starstruck?
No, I knew her because, the girls you're playing against. And I was like, oh, she must be injured. Oh, this was great gossip because my other friend was Swedish as well. And I thought, I'm going to tell my mate that the great Annika is injured. Anyway, she jumped on this this like a, what do you call those, elliptical machines where you like run like that. And she started working out, and I was like, what is she doing? Like, I couldn't believe it. No, I think it was after the round. But she was just working on her fitness and stuff like that.
She kept fit.
Yeah. So she was the first, and so I think it was her and Tiger that actually created what we see today, which is a lot more stuff in the gym or in your hotel room with stretching and stuff like that, and less hard work on the driving range. So we used to work on the driving range. We'd be hitting hundreds of golf balls, stand putting for an hour, chipping for an hour. You know, you just we got fit, golf fit by doing golf, whereas now it's all about
full body.
Yeah. I can't imagine what it would be like to have had my career now. Yeah. You know, I don't know. Would I've been? I'm sure I would have been better, but I would have hated it, I think, because I don't like exercise. So.
So this is it just floors me, because having played against Shani in high school, this person who's amazing at sports is like, my exercise. It's like, oh my God, it took all our effort just to keep up with you. And you're like, I don't even like it.
Oh, the natural ability.
Yeah.
So I like to play sports. I think that I can do that to the cows come home, but the actual, you know, go to the gym or get down on the ground and stretch, which I knew would have been good for me. Like, I remember standing on the driving range, and for a long period of time on tour, because it's like one day rolls into the next. So you hit lots of balls one day, you're a little bit sore the next day, and I used to get really tight through my shoulders because that's where I held all my stress or my tension and that sort of thing. And the first 3 shots on the driving range, I looked like the lady hacker from down the road because the ball just like run along the ground because I was so stiff.
Across the oval.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Pro.
You know the ball's supposed to go up in the air.
Obvious.
Yeah, so I was paying for it the next day because the first few shots would just be shocking. But that's why you went to the driving range to warm up before the game, was to actually get the body moving and that sort of thing.
Did you ever suffer an injury that really took you down?
Not really. I had tennis elbow in my it started in one arm and then it went into the other one. It left that arm, went to the other one, and I used to think it was golf related, but it wasn't until I did one of my golf holidays several years after I retired. Took group away on a golf holiday, and I actually took my golf clubs for a change, and I was at the airport and I lifted up my golf carry bag with the golf bag in it and started to pull it along like that, and I realised that's what created my tennis elbow, I think, because that action of lifting and gripping, lifting, and then pulling that way
was no good.
So it didn't actually hurt to hit golf balls, but it was, you know, like doing little things like looking like a pro and doing the waggle, that hurt my elbow, not the actual act of hitting the golf ball. So no, besides that, which didn't really affect my golf.
Amazing.
I didn't have any injuries, which is, I think there's something to be said for being inflexible. When it comes to injuries, like I watch the footballers, you know, I love my Eagles, and I just can't believe all the injuries these guys get. But when you're that finely tuned, it's going to happen. Whereas if you're like I was and not very flexible, I never tried to do anything, you know, that was super strenuous because I just knew I couldn't. So
wow. And you won a few things.
Yeah,
you won. You actually like you were like a champ.
Well, I won 3 tournaments on the Ladies European Tour, which sounds pretty impressive. But when you did it for 17 years, when I was actually playing professional golf on tour for 17 years, it's not a great strike rate. 3 wins in 17 years, really.
Pretty impressed.
Yeah,
but a lot of players never win. So I'm you know, I know now in hindsight that I did achieve quite a bit. Yeah, just didn't feel like it at the time because you're always comparing. I think we do this in life. You're always comparing yourself to the best in the field. Yeah. And so, you know, I had Annika Sorenstam to, like, I had Kari Webb.
Yes. Yeah.
Then I had Sari Pak, who was the first real superstar South Korean player. And at the same time that she came along, Annika came along. So I had those 3 that I played against week in, week out. And, you know, you just fall way short of them. But when you think about it, when you retire, you think, well, okay, they beat me by a couple of, you know, 1 or 2 shots every round.
Yeah.
It's not that bad, really.
Pretty good.
Yeah. I make myself feel good by saying that. Anyway.
No, take it from me and Joe, okay?
Right.
You did really well.
Oh, thank you, girls. That's great.
Is there any particular tournament that you're really proud of, like where there might have been a moment that you pushed through, or a sweet shot came off, and you know, is there one moment?
I think I won a tournament in Wales. It was called the WPGA Championship of Europe. Championship of Europe in Wales. So we played it in Wales, and I sunk I don't know how far this is in metres, 77-foot putt. So Sydney, you got no chance of working out what that is in metres. So it's like 20. Is it 20? 23 metre, 24 metre putt. Up. I went down, across, down a slope. You know, it broke 5 different ways. It went in the hole.
Oh my god!
So I sunk that. I wasn't trying to sink it. I was like, because if I 3-putted, so if I had 3 putts, I was going to get into a playoff. Mm-hmm. So I was leading by 3 shots, playing the last hole, and the girl that was actually already finished, who was my closest person, was actually an amateur, a Welsh amateur. So I'm thinking, just 3 putts. So you get into a playoff with the amateur. Yeah. It doesn't matter if you lose the playoff because you've got the check anyway. All these thoughts went through my head. And so I was just trying to not 4-putt, which from 77 feet is actually a thing. It could actually happen. Anyway, it went in, and it was pretty, like, the celebration was pretty...
Yeah.
I'm not very demonstrative, but it was pretty demonstrative. And my caddy was like, he was behind me. He was like, yeah, why don't you just sink it then? Just before it went in. And I was like thinking, sit. You know, I just wanted it to be close to the hole. Sit, stop. Anyway, it disappeared, and I don't know if I may have sworn, I can't remember. I don't think you can tell on the tape. Oh. But that week was, Matt, you asked about the challenge. You know, I was actually sharing a room with my best mate, and she ruptured. Oh, did she rupture a disc? No, she had a bulging disc in her back.
Oh god.
So she hates Kylie Minogue because we were staying in this hotel, and there was a wedding on one night, and she woke up with the bad back, and she could hear a Kylie Minogue song playing at the wedding, so she now hates Kylie Minogue.
So that's a trigger now.
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. She starts getting back pain every time she hears Kylie Minogue. She's probably glad she's probably retired. But anyway, so the night before the last round, I actually was at 3 o'clock in the morning. I was trying to put this 5'11" Swedish Viking female into the smallest hire car in the world, so I could take her to the emergency room.
Oh my
so that's like 3 o'clock in the morning. So no sleep, you know, broken sleep, taking her to the... She was the captain of the European Solheim Cup team, which was being announced that next day. So she's stressed about that. I'm trying to get sleep, so I'm, you know, trying to... It's quite funny now, but it wasn't funny at the time, like trying to close the back door. I'm trying to get her into the back. She literally couldn't move. Like, she was in so much pain. And she was too tall for the back seat. So I was like, okay, just lift yourself up when I say lift yourself up, which she couldn't do. So I just slammed the door, and, you know, I slammed it, and I was like, well, slammed it, and then gave it another little push, and I was like, oh,
well, it's shut, so clearly no body parts.
Just.
Dan Heron and long legs.
Yeah, exactly. Rude. Anyway, so that was all part of it. So I think it helped because I wasn't that bothered about the golf side of things.
I was going to say, did you ever consider that you know might have been something you needed to do at the start of every big comp day?
Like the lucky sock or the lucky... It's the lucky trip to the ER.
Well, because you may have worked out already, I walk fast, I talk fast, I swing the golf club fast. So when I'm tired, I've actually got a better chance to do well because everything slows down a little bit. Yeah. So I don't think it was a bad thing at all. Because one of the other tournaments I played really well in, her daughter, the same girl's daughter, I was rooming with the daughter, little tiny daughter. That was the big thing. We were in Atlanta, and it was like, oh, I'm going to share my hotel room with little Tuba was her name, gorgeous girl. She's now got a child and everything. She's actually an adult. Oh, and they'd flown over from Sweden, so I think that was right. And so when it was time for bed, she wasn't ready to go to bed. So I've got her in my room. And so I'm still up at 1 o'clock in the morning trying to get this kid to bed. Nice. Mum's in the next room.
Sleeping like a baby.
And I played well that week too. I was shattered. I was really shattered. And I think that so there is a theme for me to the tiredness is not a bad thing.
Yeah, all right. So no lucky jocks. Just get yourself tired.
No, but I used to try and match my tees with my... What did I match my colour of my tees with my outfit?
Yeah, okay. I was going to ask you about standard golfing outfits. Did you have a certain style?
I had a golf clothing contract for 1 year out of 17 because I hated golf clothes. So I actually used to come home to Bunbury and go shop for like surfy brands, anything that wasn't golfy. So I like a lot of girls like, you should just get a clothing contract and save it, get some money or save yourself some money, because it was a women's tour, so you didn't really get paid to wear the clothes. And I said, I hate them. I don't
Enough
like it.
that you wouldn't even put up with it. You couldn't look at yourself in the mirror in your
I
golf.
just hated it. I grew up, at the beach, Hungry Hollow, Bunbury. I wanted to wear a pair of shorts, and I'd wear thongs if you could play golf in thongs, not a thong, but thongs. Yeah, so I remember going to, what was that shop in Victoria Street? One of the Brown boys had a really cool
Garbage.
shop. Garbage. Yeah, I shopped there for a couple of years. And so...
Oh, you wore Glenn's garbage clothes onto... Oh.
Yeah. It was actually, he actually had a brand in there called Golf Punk. Yeah, which wasn't really for golf, but it kind of was, I guess. So I wore that, a little bit of that.
Yeah, right.
That's as close as I got to golf gear.
Did you ever get any pressure about what women should be wearing on the golf course? Was there standards?
Not on tour. We could wear short shorts.
Whatever you liked.
But in golf clubs, absolutely. I've got several stories about...
Tell us your worst one. Where you were just absolutely horrified and would have gone...
Yeah. Okay,
right
so... It's a toss-up between two. Was a local one and an interstate one.
You don't have to give us names or anything, but do you know?
No, I took the interstate one. So I was playing for Western Australia, and I was playing in the Australian Foursomes Championship. So Sarah Gautry, who's a girl from Royal Fremantle in Perth, we were partners. My mum had made us matching shorts. So I had pink and white pinstripes, and she had green and white pinstripes. I had a pink Lacoste shirt. She had a green Lacoste shirt. We'd saved up all our money to buy these Lacoste shirts. As you can imagine, they're pretty expensive. And we had this, Mum had made us a stripy pants. So we looked $1 million. I think we may have even given ourselves little bow ties. I can't remember. I know, so bad.
We want photos.
Now I think I've got one.
Hey.
It's my 21st album. So anyway, I was about 19, I reckon. I'd just gone to uni, so what is it? The freshman 15. You put on a little bit of weight your first year at uni.
Yeah.
So I was a little chubby, and so therefore, to do my shorts up, I had to pull them up a bit high to get them over my waist. So we're on the putting green, about to go out and play 36 holes in one day in Queensland. Really hot. It's really steamy, hot. We're on the putting green. This lady walks over and goes, "You come with me. Your shorts are too short." And I'm thinking, what about her? What about Sarah? She's got the same shorts as me on. And I go, what about her? And she said, no, hers are fine. And I was like, what? So she dragged me into the ladies' locker room. I had to kneel down on the floor up against the wall, and they had a ruler attached to the wall. So they could measure from the ground to the start of your shorts. And if that gap was longer than whatever, I can't remember, not very long, you couldn't play. So mine were too short.
No.
Yep. So either I don't play, which was never going to happen because it was the Australian Foursomes Championships and Sarah would have killed me. So I had to put my rain pants on. So I had to play 36 holes of golf in one day in Brisbane in the heat.
My goodness.
It's just rubbish.
So rubbish. It's just and they wonder why there's not many women playing golf, because that's the sort of rubbish we had to put up with, at the Australian Championships, when you would think it's beyond that, we're all good golfers. We've all played lots of golf. If I'm like half a centimetre too short because I've put on a couple of kilos or a couple of pounds back then, a couple of kilos it would have been. Just ridiculous.
So it's half a centimetre.
I can't remember. I just
something
remember
ridiculous.
I think I said this is a joke.
Yeah, it is a joke.
But it wasn't a joke. I had to go and put my rain pants on. Yeah, I don't even know why I had my rain pants. It's too hot to wear them.
Did.
Yeah.
That's reminding me of when I was at school at Catholic College, and similar, we had to have the measurement of our school uniforms.
Yeah, it was the same.
Above, the nuns would get out the
it's bad enough in school,
but
this
let
is
alone
sport. Yeah, this is sport. Yeah. And that's probably, I think everyone of my era would have lots of those kind of stories. Yeah.
Did you ever get yourself in trouble with saying too much, or just turning around and saying, "Oh, that's rubbish"?
I think that's the only time I actually said something out loud.
Yeah,
that's rubbish. And I remember thinking, "Good one, Shani. It's royal. It was Royal Queensland, the golf club. It doesn't get much snootier than that."
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, "Oh, you probably shouldn't have said that." But you sort of should have said that. You know, I felt like you know, I felt like okay to say that, but you know, I think the repercussions could have been pretty dire for that particular day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For you.
So do golf clubs in general just think themselves a lot better than lots of other sport? Is that why they hold on to this misogynistic framework? What is it?
I think it's just such a traditional sport. And I think my observation, and I don't know if this is right or not, but because I can't reference every golf club in the world, but they make these rules, or they don't make these rules. These rules have always been in existence, and they don't ever question them. So the short thing is why is that a thing?
Yeah, why is that even an issue?
A thing? And now it'd be, the young people would be horrified if they said, well, we don't want to look at your ugly fat legs. It was a couple of comments I've heard, and I thought,
really?
Thank goodness we've evolved a lot since those
days. It'd go viral, wouldn't it? It'd
go
viral
absolutely.
and it'd be...
Yeah. But that was... So I don't know if it was that. I don't know if it was just blatantly following tradition without even ever questioning it from the committee members, or, you know, whether it's, you know, don't let the men see your legs. I don't know.
So was it traditionally, though, women that were controlled,
enforcing it
and directed as to how they would dress? I mean, men still have to follow standard of dress, do they?
Yeah. Like I remember, so on the boys' side, it was the long white socks.
Yeah.
You know, like I remember being, I was probably just about finished being a junior. I was probably about to turn pro, and I remember one of the boys, junior golfers at Bunbury, was told to he couldn't play because he had shorts on, but he didn't have his long white socks. And he said, I remember him saying to whoever said you can't play, he said, I can't even find long white socks. Where do you buy long white socks?
Yeah.
And the club officials, oh, have you tried Cronshaw's? You know, like they actually came back, and he's like, yeah, my parents went there. They couldn't find long white socks.
Yeah. If that isn't a sign, though, that you're outdated,
when you can't
clothing etiquette maybe needs to go.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah. And it's still, the golf club that will remain nameless, they had this, recently put up this sandwich board of you know, are you dressed appropriately to play golf? And it had pictures of appropriate golfing attire, and this is a youngish guy, you know, posing on the sandwich board, dressed in, you know, the longer shorts and the polo shirt, and so he was dressed like a golfer. And I thought, oh my God, I can't wait to get around the other side of this sign to see what the women's one, you know, what's the women one. So I walked around the other side of the sign, and it was just the same as the other side. And I was like, so, women, we can wear what we want. You know,
there's no guideline here.
I couldn't believe it. I was like, you know, is that, again, that's misogyny. It's like, you know, don't even bother to have one for the women. No, so, anyway.
And it's so irrelevant to how you play the sport.
Yeah.
What, for goodness sake, does how you dress have to do with how you play?
It's distracting for other players, Mum.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Speaking from experience.
Yeah.
When I get out there in my short shorts, she can't coach. She's like, Joe, please.
Don't bend over and pick up the ball.
No.
Yeah. Just drop it.
Yeah. It's amazing.
It is. It's so interesting.
Yeah. So golf is a long way behind in a lot of ways. Yeah. It is. I think it's the holding on to tradition, and that's okay for the people who grew up with that tradition. You know, because I do lots of I do beginner women's programs, and
there you go, girls.
I think they're past that.
We're past beginners. Okay.
I've got a band squad, and I start to tell them, you know, when we start getting closer to the end of the program, and I know that they're about to, you know, go and have their couple of little goes on the golf course and that sort of thing with the lovely ladies, and I start saying, things like, oh, you know. So there's this thing where you don't walk across someone's line. Like if they're putting from here to there, you don't walk straight across. And they're like, oh, why not? And I go, that's a good question. I don't know why. And then I have to think back to when, you know, the old days when we used to wear spiked shoes, you know, because we'd leave like little spike marks in the grass. And then this is actually a thing. If you putt and your ball hits one of those spike marks, it can make the ball deviate. So this is another example of not, you know, just keeping the rules or the etiquette the same, not reviewing them. You should review that because that no one wears spikes anymore. So you're not going to leave a spike mark on their line. So let them walk across there. If it's pouring down with rain and the greens are soggy, maybe walk around. But, you know, none of us weigh enough where we're going to put a dent in
No.
because they're really firm greens and you putt on and that sort of thing. So it just they just haven't thought about it. You know, they just carte blanche make these rules or roll these rules over from bygone era that really have no relevance.
If they want it to evolve and keep growing, they need to evolve.
Yeah. Oh, the ladies look at me like, what? And then you can see them start to panic that they, oh, God, and what else do we have to worry about? And you say, oh, well, don't talk when someone's hitting, which is a little bit easier to understand, I suppose. But, and then, you know, you list a few other rules. And as you're saying them, you're like, oh, this is really bad.
Here we go.
Like, you know, this is not good. I accept them because I've played golf since I was little. But that's really stupid, actually, when you think about it.
For someone coming in fresh to that scenario, you would be questioning quite a bit of it.
A lot of it, yeah.
It's like the Life of Brian, where they say, why? It is written, that's why. You know, that's why we do things. It is written. Yeah.
Did you ever have any issues with hecklers from the crowd? Speaking of, you know, not talking while someone's taking a shot. Did you ever turn around and look at someone?
No, but I played with Kari Webb one day when she had a go at a guy for... it must have been the early days of mobile phones, actually. I was playing with her and I was actually hitting when the phone rang. So it was my thing.
Yeah,
you know, it was
your shot that was impacted.
Yeah, and Kari just started yelling, sternly talking to this guy, which was sort of fair enough because, you know, you don't do it. You don't have your phone on and that sort of thing. But it was kind of my fight to have, not hers sort of thing. So, and she was a little bit notorious for... I do believe, I didn't see it myself, but I do believe she grabbed someone's camera and stepped on it.
Oh, yeah. That's hardcore.
Yeah, this doesn't go to Queensland, does it? This?
No. Goes nowhere.
Right.
No one's listening.
Just keywords, Kari Webb, camera. Yeah.
Hashtag Kari Webb.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. But, you know, so no, I don't think I ever, the only time that was at phone ringing, no, people who go to golf tournaments, well, at least back then, they were golfers. You didn't really go if you weren't a golfer. So no, not really.
Yeah,
these days they're throwing beers on the green and everything like that.
Oh, come on.
Well, the party, it started in America at one of their men's events in Arizona where they had this party hole. They called it the party hole, and pretty much anything would go. You could cheer while they were hitting, and the players were okay with it if you know in advance that's what it's going to be like. If you got there and all of a sudden you're about to hit and people start yelling, it would be a bit off-putting. But if you know that's going to happen, you can cope with it. You can get mentally prepared for it. But now it seems they're taking it a step further. And I know a live golf event that was in Adelaide a month or so ago, some guy had a hole-in-one or something like that, and some guy threw his cup of beer on the tee, and then other people started throwing it, and all of a sudden there was just this sea of beer and cups.
Like closing time at the nightclub.
Very similar. So golf is evolving.
It is evolving
in interesting ways.
I tell you what, though, most golf clubs have like a lot of people lining up trying to get memberships, don't they?
That was definitely the case probably 30 years ago. Now the golf clubs are trying to get people to walk in the door. They've realised that they can't be that exclusive. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think that's part of the problem. I think that the existing golfers grew up in an era where it was their golf club was exclusive. You know, you had to be a member. You know, you had to have standards, all that sort of stuff. They're finding it difficult to change to make the club welcoming. For the younger people who absolutely not interested in those standards.
They're not going to buy into that,
No, they're not. So the older players wonder why their membership keeps going up. Yeah. If they actually could relax and let go of that stuff, there'll be more people in the club, their memberships wouldn't go up as much. So it's a bit of a vicious circle, I think, for golf clubs. But no, I don't think there's very few golf clubs that would have waiting lists.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, like Royal Melbourne or somewhere like that would have waiting lists, I would think. But having said that, I've seen some stuff that Royal Melbourne have done where they've been really, doing lots of beginner programs, lots of junior stuff. And
so, when you got out of professional golf, what happened? Did you come straight back home?
Straight back home.
Straight back home.
Yeah. Right. I think if I'd retired a couple of years earlier, I think I retired when I was 37. If I'd retired a couple of years earlier, I probably would have, gone to live in Melbourne or Sydney or Perth or something like that. But when I when I was 37 and I was running out of years to have a child, I just thought, I just need to go home. I need to go home.
You want to settle down.
Yeah. So that all happened a bit like my golf career. It just sort of
unfolded.
Yeah. No great thought put into it or anything like that. Just it's the best decision I made. I think if I had retired a couple of years ago and gone and tried to set myself up in Melbourne or something like that, I think my life would be so different. You know, I probably wouldn't have had a child because I would have been living the high life in Melbourne and not doing the right thing, doing the prioritising having the child. So I think this Bunbury's a great place for.
Oh, it's good to bring your kids up.
Yeah, it is.
I think so. I think so.
It's a great place. Yeah.
So you have your child, and you're still very much involved with golf.
I am. I've got my business is golf. So I was at Bunbury Golf Club until May last year, and then I left Bunbury Golf Club. And so for the last year, I've been doing a little bit of junior coaching out at Capel of my existing juniors that I'd sort of raised at Bunbury Golf Club, coming out and having lessons with me. I've just now done a deal with the golf club at Capel where I can coach adults as well. So I had my first beginner. I'm just about to finish my first beginner program for over a year, which has been great to see the new girls come and play and like it and get better and that sort of thing. And I've always done golf holidays. So when I was finishing up on tour, I the last couple of years as in America, it was back when we first could book accommodation and flights and stuff online.
Yeah, right. Back in those days.
There was a time when you couldn't do that, Sydney.
Yes.
So I really enjoyed that side of it, like doing the research and because you have a fair bit of downtime on tour, where you're just trying not to wear yourself out. So I was doing a fair bit of that, like sourcing the apartments and that sort of thing, because we always my friends had children and stuff like that on tour, so we'd always try and find apartments, and we like to play cards and that sort of thing. So the apartment was important. So when I retired, I was like, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do golf holidays where I get to organise the accommodation and
that sounds pretty nice.
And I thought, I don't have to play golf. The people that come on the holiday, they can play golf. I'll just watch them tee off and then come back 4 hours later. And
oh, stop it.
So I did that for the first couple of years. I was like, and that's when I knew I heard what might cause my elbow pain was when I actually decided I finally should have a game of golf when I go to my golf holidays. So, so the first few I didn't play any golf. I just, which was interesting observing Ruston on golfers, how much they love the sport.
Yeah, really?
Yeah, really interesting. They love it.
That's great.
I love it.
So where do you see yourself in, say, another 5 years? Still doing what you're doing now? Clearly you love it. Works well. Yeah,
I think I don't think I'll ever. I think I'm quite interested in coaching, and I've started playing cricket. And I don't want to be a cricket coach, but I feel myself gravitating towards coaching. Like I'm captain of the Colts women's team at the moment. I've had that job for a year or two, and I find myself at training because we don't really have a coach. I end up kind of coaching,
yelling out and telling them what to do,
which is weird because I don't know anything about the technique. I know there's a ball coming at me and I know I have to hit it. That's about as much I know about batting. So when I find myself yelling something, I'm like, where's that come from? Who said that? I was like, that's me. That's so embarrassing. I don't know anything about the sport, but I find myself talking a lot about not so much the actual technique, but positive mindset. Watch the ball, which is is not
undervalued
in sport. Watch the ball.
Watch the ball.
So I've had some. I've got a girl in my team who's struggled a little bit with anxiety. Really talented cricketer, and a few times she's come out to bat with me, and she's been beside herself. What I would have guessed was nerves. I now know that there's a difference between nerves and anxiety. It's not. It doesn't feel like there's a massive difference, but there is a difference to the person who's feeling that. And I'm standing there going. She's like, I'm so nervous. I'm so nervous. I'm so anxious. And I'm thinking, what do she's a better cricketer than me. What do I tell this person? And I just heard myself say, just watch the ball. And her mum said, that's the best thing you could have said.
Because it focuses her.
Yeah,
on
stops
something
the
else.
noise up here, I think, and so that sort of stuff's quite interesting. So that's where I can draw on my golf career. What worked for me as a golfer in a very confronting sport, really. How can I use that to help my golf students, and also now in cricket. The leadership stuff I think is really I really enjoy that side of things as well.
Excellent.
Well, as you say, it's nice to be able to pass on your learned experiences, because there must have been things, as you say, that work.
Yeah, and when I first started coaching golf, I had you don't start a program halfway through it. You start, the little kids, and you start them off as little kids that can't even get the ball off the ground, and then I remember it took years before I actually had a golfer that I could actually influence with my experience. Pretty much anyone can teach them, this is what you do to hit a golf ball in the air. But when they got to the performance side of things, wanting to play tournaments and stuff like that, I was like, okay, now, oh my God, I'm not ready for this. I'm not ready for this. What,
it's my baby.
What wisdom am I going to pass on? Wisdom am I going to pass on?
Yeah.
Because I had to dig quite deep back in my mind, what would I have felt in their shoes? So that's been fun, having students that now need that sort of advice. And actually, one of my students just had a hole-in-one on Sunday, and it's gone viral.
Oh, really?
Yeah, 16-year-old girl playing the Southwest Open. She, you must be the only people in the world who haven't heard about this.
Yeah, that's because we don't watch the news anymore.
Right. So yeah, she had a hole-in-one on Sunday at the Southwest Open at Bunbury Golf Club.
And how good that it was filmed, because that allows things to go viral.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so they had the camera on there because that was part of the insurance for the car, was they had to have the camera on to verify that it actually went in the hole. It wasn't like a few people that concocted, let's pretend we had a hole-in-one. And so $60,000 Isuzu dual cab ute. So this girl, she hasn't even got a learners yet. It's the best story. It's the best story. So she's like a 1 or 2 handicap. So I started coaching her a couple of years ago. So that's so fun.
It's all down to you.
No. She was a good player before. No, it was Chloe Viren from Bustleton. Yeah,
because I know Charlotte.
Oh yeah,
she's doing really
Charlotte,
well.
No. Yeah, she's got a lot of talent for golf, but she's having a little bit of a break at the moment.
Oh, okay.
Being a teenager,
she's got those green hips.
Yeah, well, that's right. Yeah, so that's so. She had a lesson with her today actually, and we're doing stuff. The coaching of her now, because she's such a good golfer, is really quite. I don't want to say high level, but it's we change something that makes a massive change. It's hard to explain, but because she's really good, the change is small, but it's huge for her.
Yes.
Yeah. Whereas when you first start playing golf, you make a change and it's instant, huge improvement. Her improvements, making the ball go slightly lower or slightly higher or something like that, which, is pretty exciting when you're at that level.
Do you ever find yourself thinking, I wish someone had told me that when I was your age? Or
a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I try not to, there's 2 things I try not to be bitter about. One is like when I came through the golf pathway, there was no such thing as scholarships or there was Australian teams, but, there wasn't like these, Australian trainings and stuff like that. There was nothing like that. So, would I have been, better? So I don't even think too much about that, but, that's something you could be bitter about. Like, if only I played when I was 30 years ago. If only I'd started now, would I have been better? Who knows?
I suppose it serves no purpose, does it?
Serves no purpose. And the same money, the other one is the difference between the men's and women's prize money. Like, I made pretty good money playing golf.
Yeah.
But if I'd been a male at the same level, I would be too good to talk to you girls.
Yeah.
Oh,
God, yeah.
Our loss it would be.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
We're already feeling the privilege.
I'd still live in Bunbury, I reckon, if I was a bloke golfer.
It's worst place to live. Talking about worst places and best places, what's the best golf course, like the one with the most stunning view or the best golf?
Well, I've changed my opinion on that because last December, I took a group to Queenstown in New Zealand for a golf holiday, and we played at a course called Jack's Point, which is you have to see it to believe it. So it's not tricked up or anything like that. It's not a Donald Trump style, like $1 million waterfalls or anything like that. It's just this golf course that's built sort of up an incline and just looks, so when you're walking up the incline, if you turn around, you look straight at the Remarkables range. There's a plane coming in that's dropping people off to do skydiving and, it's just, I don't know if you guys have been to Queenstown, it's just the best place. And it's a great golf course. So take it out of Queenstown, put it somewhere else, it's still amazing. It's still a great golf course. So Jack's Point in Queenstown.
There you go.
And then my long-time favourite was Kingston Heath in Melbourne. Just a brilliant place. Just a great feel. You drive in. Probably going to contradict myself because, I don't like the traditions and all that sort of stuff, but you drive in and it's a very surreal, mystical kind of place.
A traditional looking place, but there's something about it. Yeah.
Can't change your golf shoes in the car park.
Okay.
Oh, stop it.
It's true.
Fair
well,
enough.
at least it was back then when I was playing there. Yeah. I know, ridiculous.
That's
love it.
just gorgeous. Do you have a quote that you like to live by or helped you?
No, I don't think so. I like quotes. I read them, and I was looking through my phone pictures the other day and found a couple of good quotes and stuff like that. But I think a quote is only a moment in time.
Yeah.
Like, it's sort of like, that was really important, last week, that quote. That's not important at all this week. So I tell my students, my golf students, especially the kids, that golf, or pretty much life, it's a marathon, not a sprint. And that's really pertinent for golf improvement, I think, for the kids especially. They see what's on TV and they want to be there, but they don't understand that the journey and they're kids. So why would they understand the journey? And I was lucky that I didn't really think like that. I wasn't looking ahead. I was like right in the moment. What's my handicap? It needs to come down, and then it just sort of it rolled out in front of me. So, but the kids that are really thinking big time, they're trying to sprint, and you just cannot. You have to learn everything that goes with golf. You have to learn. So you've got to treat it like a marathon. Just take it easy. You've got to. Your improvement will come. But try telling a child that. It's really hard. They just don't want to hear. They don't understand. They don't.
And you're right, though. You could put that principle to life. In that sense,
I think so. I think how much I've changed. Things that I used to get bent out of shape about. Now I just go, oh well, can't control that. So why would I waste any energy on that?
That's good advice.
When you're younger or at a certain point in your life, it's the biggest thing at the moment in that time. It's like, oh, you get really agitated about that. Now you just go, well, why did I get agitated about that? That's crazy.
That's true. It is very true. I love it.
So yeah, that's my life. Golf is a marathon, not a sprint.
Well, a golf game is kind of a marathon, isn't it, really? Let's be honest.
It's all relative.
Well, we've loved hearing about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for coming on. Now, if you have been affected by any of the topics discussed in this conversation, then we will leave links below, as well as links for more show information and to subscribe.
Thanks, Shani.
Pleasure.
And always remember,
every day,
you are remarkable.